Terry Evanshen is a man without a memory. So why do people come to listen to him? What can he tell you, this keynote speaker without a past? You'll be surprised at the power of the Terry Evanshen story. You will never forget him. He was one of the all-time greats. Member of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Twice voted the most outstanding Canadian in the CFL. A Grey Cup in 1970. 6 conference and 8 CFL All-Star selections. But what made him proudest was the fact he'd fumbled the ball only 3 times in his whole career. He was a little guy, but he was invincible, catching those long passes like no one else.
Terry was a very aggressive young man, and people might have thought he had a chip in his shoulder because he was always just very cocky and self-assured. And the first thing, of course, as a rookie coming into the Alouettes in 1972 for me, and meeting Terry Evanshen, of course, by this time, who was a kind of all-pro receiver. I noticed this little guy strutting like a peacock out in the field, and the way he carried himself, you could tell that he was intense, he was self-confident, he had a persona, he was a charismatic type guy.
Living on a 32-acre farm outside Toronto, with his childhood sweetheart, Lorraine, and their 3 daughters, the boy from working-class Point St. Charles in Montreal had it made. When the sports career ended, his quick wit and natural charm made him a great marketing man. It was a storybook life. And then, in a single second, on July 4th, 1988, it all changed. Driving on a quiet country road, just minutes from home, Terry's car was struck by a van running a red light. He suffered massive internal injuries. Last rites were administered. Terry wasn't expected to live. But Terry Evanshen is a fighter. His physical injuries were healing as he lay in a coma for almost a month. Then, when Terry woke up, the devastating extent of his brain injuries became known. Suffering from short-term memory deficit and retrograde amnesia, he couldn't recognize his wife, his children, his mother. All of his glorious past, including personal and family experiences, were wiped out. He was without a past, and his future looked bleak. Again, it was time for Terry to fight. This time, the long, difficult, painful road to recovery.
It just all came together at the same time. And then, of course, 4 years later, I went to the Good Samaritan Hospital in Puyallup, Washington, where I was learning how to develop and create a new Terry. Terry from the past, you got to forget him because you can't touch him. You know, we live on memories. Don't do this and don't do that, and don't go here and maybe go there. If you don't have those to reach back and guide you, you're always reacting instinctively by the moment. And so I learned from that tenure in the hospital to slowly take each day at a time and to mark it down, because I have my also short-term memory, and build from it.
Terry took speech and language therapy. He relearned everything most of us take for granted: how to tie a shoelace, how to write a check, when to say please or thank you. And in rebuilding his life, he discovered a new purpose, something he wanted to share with other people. The new Terry made his first public appearance after the accident in April 1992, speaking to a group of high school students. Since then, he's been telling his story to audiences all over the world. Telling his story, Terry inspires you to look at your own life in a way you've never done before. He shows you the never-ending power of the human mind to overcome obstacles. He shows you courage and the incredible perseverance of the human spirit.
The message is that where there's a will, there's a way to surmount even the most horrific problems, and that Terry had found that way. It made all of us realize that whatever problems we have day to day were minute in comparison to the kind of problems that Terry had to surmount.
You know, one of the things that struck me about Terry when he first began speaking, and something that I relate to, it's something I think that we miss today in today's society, is the whole concept of values. And when you hear Terry Evanshen speak, basically he's going to be talking to you, he's talking to me, he's talking to everyone in the room. And his message is universal. Unfortunately, what we don't see today is enough spiritual development. And people will always say, well, you know, the church is still there in some form of religion, but the type of spirituality that Terry delivers in his message is something that crosses all the boundaries, the horizons, if you'd like, of whether it's religion, whether it's values, whether it's psychology. It all affects and it all impacts on us, each and every one of us, how we live our lives. And basically what it does is it makes us think. And in today's world where time is such a precious commodity, you know, it's real nice to have some message that can have you step back and say, yeah, he's right. And Terry's message is right.
Like a true champion, Terry's fight never stops. Seizing each moment, then it's gone. Terry must reaffirm his own identity each minute of every day. Listen to him, and we promise, you will never forget Terry Evanshen and his remarkable story.